In this episode we will learn about Noah and the flood. We will also learn about Noah's family, and what we call today, the Nephilim. We will learn how science actually proves the Bible is accurate. I will include some science as a comparison to God's Word. As we go through Genesis, we are going to learn some very interesting things, like how was all this created? Who was Adam and Eve, and where was the Garden of Eden? Did Noah really get all these different animals on the ark? Where did our ancestors come from? Do Nephilim exist today? And much more. Be sure to subscribe so you'll get notified when new videos are posted. In the last episode we learned the beginning of Cain's family tree. In this episode we will learn about his brother, Seth's, family tree. This is also the beginning of the lineage of Jesus. Most of us like to skip over all the begots when we read the Bible, but in doing so we miss some great information hidden within.
Genesis 5 verses 1 to 31. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years, and begot a son in his own likeness, and after his image, and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. And Seth lived 105 years, and begot Enos. And Seth lived after he begot Enos 807 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. And Enos lived 90 years, and begot Cainan. And Enos lived after he begot Cainan 815 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Enos were 905 years, and he died.
We see here that Adam had other children. These are the children that Cain was afraid would kill him for what he did to Abel. From these children came Cain's wife.
And Cainan lived 70 years, and begot Mahalaleel. And Cainan lived after he begot Mahalaleel 840 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Cainan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalaleel lived 65 years, and begot Jared. And Mahalaleel lived after he begot Jared 830 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Mahalaleel were 895 years, and he died. And Jared lived 162 years, and he begot Enoch. And Jared lived after he begot Enoch 800 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. And Enoch lived 65 years, and begot Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God after he begot Methuselah 300 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. And Methuselah lived 187 years, and begot Lamech. And Methuselah lived after he begot Lamech 782 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years, and begot a son. And he called his name Noah, saying, This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed. And Lamech lived after he begot Noah 595 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died.
So, from Adam to Noah is a total of 1,056 years since the creation of man. 10 generations. Being the 10th generation from Adam, Noah was the last of the first 10 generations of Jesus' lineage. His grandfather, Methuselah, was the oldest living man who died at the age of 969. Noah's great-grandfather was Enoch. The Bible says Enoch walked with God and then God took him. Hebrews 11 verse 5, By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him, for before his translation he had this testimony, that he pleased God. Enoch was the first to be what Christians call raptured. He was also the first to prophesy the return of Christ, before Christ was even born. Jude 1 verses 14 to 15, and Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints, to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Noah's great-grandfather, the Enoch that God took, was not the same Enoch that was Cain's son. Cain's great-great-great-grandson, Lamech, was not Noah's father. These are different branches of the same family tree. Noah's father did not kill Cain as some are led to believe. Cain's great-great-great-grandson did not kill him. Cain's Lamech in Genesis 4 verse 23 killed a young man that caused him harm. It was self-defense. He was saying that if God protected a cold-blooded murderer like Cain, then God would protect one who killed in self-defense even more. Cain's great-great-great-great-grandson, Tubal-Cain, did not kill Noah's father. That 2014 movie, Noah, is the worst excuse of a movie I have ever seen. I have more to say about that abomination during this study. For those who have not seen it, this video is a spoiler alert. A few years ago I created a biblical timeline. I started with the historical dates of the Babylonian Empire, and by using the years given in the Bible, I worked backwards and then forwards from there. Going by this timeline, we can see that Adam was still alive when Noah's father was in his 50s. Isn't that amazing? Noah's father, Lamech, I'm sure, was told the story of the beginning straight from Adam himself, and then Lamech told his son, Noah.
Genesis 5 verse 32, and Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Noah was 500 years old when his sons were born. Some think these three are triplets, but the Bible usually tells us about twins being born. I would think the Bible would have told us of that event. So, no, they are not triplets. The order of these sons is Japheth, Shem, and then Ham. Genesis 9 verse 24 states that Ham was the youngest, and Genesis 10 verse 21 states that Japheth was Shem's older brother. Genesis 11 verse 10 states that Shem was 100 years old 2 years after the flood. Noah was 600 years old when the flood started, therefore, Shem was born when Noah was about 503 years old. From there you can guess the others, but no other info is given.
Genesis 6 verses 1 to 2, and it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose.
This states that angels took human women as wives. The sons of God are mentioned many times in the Bible as angels. Satan was trying to taint the royal bloodline, trying to change the human DNA.
Genesis 6 verse 3, and the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years.
It is possible that the angels took these women 120 years before the flood. That would be enough time for a huge population with their offspring. Maybe it means something else. I will share that meaning in the next episode. This is also a prophecy of the Lord through a dual meaning about the end of times regarding the Jubilee years. That's in a different study though.
Genesis 6 verses 4 to 5, There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
The word Nephilim is not found in the King James Bible. These angel-human hybrids were giants. We see here that they lived on earth at this time, and later after the flood, they still existed. The human DNA was changed in these beings. It is possible that it caused a mutation of the pituitary gland. A pituitary mutation such as the hereditary AIP gene can cause gigantism. A family member can be a carrier without ever having signs of it. There has been, and may be currently, studies of this gene in families in Italy, Northern Ireland, and Mexico. This mutation seems to affect males more than females, but it does affect both. Amazon women may not be completely a Greek myth. Germline mutations in the aryl hydrocarbon receptor protein, or AIP, gene were recently identified in individuals with pituitary adenoma predisposition, or PAP. These patients have prolactin, or growth hormone, over-secreting pituitary adenomas, the latter exhibiting acromegaly, or gigantism. In their latest research, Corbinetz and her team calculated that the AIP gene defect traces back 2,500 years. The team found the variant in Charles Byrne, a man born in 1761 who grew to be 7 feet 6 inches tall and was known as the Irish Giant, as well as in 18 other Irish families. We see in 1 Samuel 17 that David fought one of these giants, named Goliath. His height was 6 cubits and a span. That's over 9 feet tall. In the next episode we will find out how these giants are still around today, even after the flood.
Genesis 6 verses 6 to 7. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them.
The actions of humans were so bad that God wished he'd never created us. Can you imagine how he feels about us today? Matthew 24 verses 37 to 39. But as the day of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. When Jesus returns it will be like the days of the flood. Sinners will abound and there will be no belief that the day is upon them until Jesus, the flood, comes and takes them away and destroys them.
Genesis 6 verses 8 to 9. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God.
Noah's great-grandfather was Enoch, whom God loved so much that Enoch never saw death. Enoch was a picture of the future rapture. God changed Enoch and received him to himself. I'm sure the teachings of his great-grandfather were passed down to his father, Lamech, who in turn taught Noah. Enoch was gone before Noah was born. Noah's father, Lamech, died 5 years before the flood. Noah's grandfather, Methuselah, died days before the flood. That is my belief anyway, since he lived 969 years, which makes him die in that time frame. If he were still living when the flood started, he would have been on the ark. It's possible he may have helped build the ark if his health allowed. Maybe that is how he died. The flood did not kill Methuselah as that horrid movie portrays. It is interesting to note, God has patterns to his plans. Concerning the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Genesis 18 verse 32, and he said, O let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once, peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. If 10 faithful people still existed when all that violence and evil was on the earth, God would not have destroyed the earth. But alas, there was only 8 left. Noah's father died as the 10th remaining faithful person. Methuselah would have been number 9 and saved from the flood because Noah was perfect in his generations.
Genesis 6 verses 11 to 14. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and, behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And, behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Room shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch.
God tells Noah to make an ark. Not a boat, not a ship, but an ark. A container much like the Ark of the Testimony, which is the Ark of the Covenant. It was to be made with gopher wood. Gopher wood does not exist today that we know of. Perhaps it was from a tree that has become extinct. Perhaps it was a different word for trees we know today. Perhaps it was a term for how the wood was to be cut and shaped. We don't know, but it was sturdy and able to float with all the weight aboard it. The ark was to have rooms, and pitch inside and out. Pitch is a form of resin that waterproofed the wood.
Genesis 6 verse 15. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits.
A common cubit was measured from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger, approximately 18 inches. A royal, or Roman, cubit was about 2 inches longer. So, using common cubits, since Rome didn't exist yet, the ark would measure 450 feet long by 75 feet wide by 45 feet deep. The Titanic was about 882.5 feet long by 92.5 feet wide by 64.5 feet deep. The average cruise ship today is around 1,000 feet long.
Genesis 6 verse 16, A window shalt thou make to the ark, and in a cubit shalt thou finish it above, and the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof. With lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it.
A window about 1.5 feet was placed in the ark. I suppose it could be placed in 2 different fashions. One being on the top level of the ark, or finished above the door, since it's in the same command. Either way, Noah uses it so it has to be placed where he can get to it. During the rain, this window was the only view to the outside world and the only source of sunlight and fresh air. The door was to be placed on the side. The ark was to have 3 levels. In Genesis 8 verse 13 it says that Noah removed the covering, so the ark has a removable roof area. Nowhere does it say that mutated rock people helped Noah build the ark. Jesus forgive those people who wrote that movie. I pray that no one believes the crap wrote in it as biblical knowledge. Notice the ark has only one door. That's because there is only one door to salvation. That door is Jesus Christ.
Genesis 6 verses 17 to 22, And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth, to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life, from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou, and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female. Of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind, 2 of every sort shall come unto thee, to keep them alive. And take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee, and for them. Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him, so did he.
Noah was to take 2 of every living creature, 1 male and 1 female. I wonder how he knew how much food to take.
Genesis 7 verse 1, And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation.
Noah's family was allowed in the ark because they too were righteous. Now the Bible does not mention the wives by name, so we can't assume to know who they are. The Bible does not state that any of the wives were with child. In Genesis 10 verse 1 it does say that sons were born to Noah's children after the flood. Even if one of the wives were with child, Noah would absolutely not have tried to kill it. Man, I hate that movie.
Genesis 7 verses 2 to 3, Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean by 2, the male and the female. Of the fowl also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed upon the face of all the earth.
Noah was to take 7 sets with 1 male and 1 female of the clean animals. What are clean animals? Leviticus 11 tells us that these are animals with parted hooves or cloven feet, and chew the cud. Clean animals must have both characteristics to be clean. Camels chew the cud but do not have parted hooves. They have feet with 2 toes but not actual hooves. Unclean. Rabbits chew the cud but do not have parted hooves. Unclean. Pigs have cloven feet but they do not chew the cud. Unclean. Cattle, deer, sheep, goats, and antelope are all clean animals. There is also a long list of birds that are unclean. Even insects are listed as clean and unclean. Why 7 clean animals? Clean, unblemished animals and fowl were used for sacrifices, and after the flood they will be used for food as well, so in order to repopulate these animals they would need to save more numbers than the others. Of the unclean animals he was to take 2 sets with 1 male and 1 female of each. The story of Noah often depicts him taking only 1 male and 1 female of each kind. But that is not how it is worded. He took them by sets. Now while you might say to yourself, that would be way too many animals. I beg to differ. Noah was instructed to take male and female of each species. A zebra, for example, is of the species as a horse. Noah would not need to take sets of both zebra and horse. Just 2 sets of horses would do. God also never stated that these animals needed to be full-grown. I'm sure he didn't want them breeding while on the ark. When the animals repopulate the world, they will evolve into these other kinds of animals we see today. I'll explain that in the Tower of Babel study.
Genesis 7 verse 4. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth.
Talk about pressure. Noah had 7 days left to get this all done. But at 600 years old, he did it. Since Noah's father was the 10th living righteous person, and he died 5 years before the flood, leaving only 9 righteous people left, his death was the start of the end. Therefore, it took Noah 5 years to build the ark.
Genesis 7 verses 5 to 9. And Noah did according unto all that the Lord commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him, into the ark, because of the waters of the flood, of clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the earth. There went in 2 and 2 unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God had commanded Noah.
Noah and his family got into the ark, and the animals followed. 2 by 2. Male and female. Side by side. Very orderly fashion.
Genesis 7 verses 10 to 12. And it came to pass after 7 days, that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights.
The day would be 17 Iyar, or approximately June 4th. Around 1,600 years after creation. My date does not account for Adar 1 leap years, which would change days slightly through the years, but, just to give the date a reference, I will use this. The fountains of the great deep broke up. There are springs in the oceans and water under the ground. These are the waters that broke up. The windows of heaven opened and rain poured down. Water was coming from all directions basically. It did this for about a month and a half, non-stop. With weather today, we can see that a day of rain just from above can cause catastrophic flooding. So why would it be hard to believe that a month and a half non-stop couldn't cover the earth? Not to mention volcanoes could have erupted, adding weight and raising water levels. And land glaciers melting and adding to the water level. Glaciers in the water have already established weight, so they wouldn't change water level when melted. There is also the vapor canopy theory, a heavy vapor of water suspended in the firmament that broke loose, which is not supported by science.
Genesis 7 verses 13 to 16. In the selfsame day entered Noah, and Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, into the ark, they, and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort. And they went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in.
Once everyone was in the ark, God shut the door. Noah had no control of the door. Just as Jesus' return will shut the door on salvation. Those who believe before seeing him come in the clouds will be safe. Those who need to see to believe, it will be too late. The same day that the Lord sealed Noah and his family in safety, is the same day he poured out his wrath on the earth. This is the same thing he will do in the end. Bring his people to safety and then pour out his wrath, on the same day. God did not remove Noah and his family from the earth. He raised them to safety, above the earth. Jesus mentioned Noah as a likeness for the end because there is much in common.
Genesis 7 verse 17. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased, and bare up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth.
As I said, much like the description of Jesus' return. The elect will be lifted above the earth to safety.
Genesis 7 verses 18 to 20, and the waters prevailed, and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills, that were under the whole heaven, were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered.
This shows us that the flood covered the whole earth. It was not a localized flood. The water reached 15 cubits, or about 22.5 feet above the mountains. Psalms 104 verse 6, Thou coveredst it with the deep as with a garment, the waters stood above the mountains. Now keep in mind that the earth during the flood was still one continent, a single land mass called Pangaea. The land didn't divide until later. It may be that the waters coming up from the ground had enough force to split rocks underground, causing the plate tectonics. Mountains were not as high as they are today. In fact, Genesis 7 is the first time mountains are mentioned in the Bible. But, even so, the water was deep enough to get the job done.
Genesis 7 verses 21 to 23, And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl, and of cattle, and of beast, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land, died. And every living substance was destroyed which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things, and the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark.
In the Kara Formation in Africa, there are what scientists estimate at 800 billion fossils, including rare plants and insects, mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and yes, even dinosaurs. The oldest dinosaur embryos were discovered here. I do believe some dinosaurs were on the ark. I also believe that what we think dinosaurs were like may not have been like that at all. Dogs are meat eaters and humans tamed them. So, going by teeth and supposed diet isn't evidence enough for me. The Bible speaks of the behemoth and the Leviathan, which is a scary animal. These were dinosaur-like creatures. I also believe unicorns may have been an evolution to the horse or goat after the flood. Maybe that's why we don't have fossils of them. There are several references to unicorns in the Bible. One is in Isaiah when he warns about unicorns in the end of days, which leads me to believe that they exist today. Maybe just not the way we picture them. There is also the Green River Formation in Wyoming with many fossils gathered. These are just two of many places, but could you imagine the sheer terror of living creatures as the waters rose? All of them trying to get to higher ground in bunches. These may have been higher ground levels at the time, or places on the way to higher ground that they never made it to. When the continental drift pushed the plates together, it caused the mountains to grow higher with the dead mammals, which later fossilized on top of the newly formed mountains. We will discuss that more in the next episode. I don't put much faith into carbon dating, or this billions of years crap, as anyone who's watched my previous videos know, but I do believe in the evidence that was left behind, and I believe my King James Bible. What happened to those angels that mated with the human women? 2 Peter 2 verse 4, For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. Job 4:18, Behold, he put no trust in his servants, and his angels he charged with folly. Jude 1 verse 6, And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. God placed them in chains in hell to wait for the day of judgment.
Genesis 7 verse 24, And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days.
When the rain stopped after almost a month and a half, the water remained for 150 days, or 5 months, before God began to dry it up.
Genesis 8 verses 1 to 4, And God remembered Noah, and every living thing, and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the water returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains on Ararat.
The water level had lowered enough that the bottom of the ark caught ground upon the mountains of Ararat. Not necessarily Mount Ararat as the Noah stories often tell us, but, at least within that area. There is an ark-like structure found near Mount Ararat that is believed by some to be the remains of Noah's ark. It contains ancient rivets and petrified wood beams. It had many rooms and matched the size of Noah's ark. Noah's ark touched ground on the 7th month, which was about 17 Tishri, or approximately November 4th. At this point it has been about 6 months since the rain started.
Genesis 8 verse 5, and the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen.
The 10th month would place us at 1 Tevet, or approximately January 15th, when the tops of the mountains could be seen. At this point we are 10 months into a flooded earth.
Genesis 8 verses 6 to 7, and it came to pass at the end of the 40 days, that Noah opened the window of the ark which he made, and he sent forth a raven, which went to and fro, until the waters were dried up from off the earth.
We see that when the rain stopped, Noah had opened the ark window and sent out a raven to find dry land, which it did not find.
Genesis 8 verses 8 to 11. Also he sent forth a dove from him, to see if the waters were abated from the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned unto him into the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand, and took her, and pulled her in unto him into the ark. And he stayed yet other 7 days. And again he sent forth the dove out of the ark, and the dove came into him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth.
By now they had been in the ark for almost 11 months.
Genesis 8 verses 12 to 13. And he stayed yet other 7 days, and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him any more. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and, behold, the face of the ground was dry.
Noah was 601 years old when the waters dried. 1 Nisan, or approximately April 15th, Noah removed the ark covering and the ground was dry. It was the 1st month and it was springtime. A new beginning for all. This is also close to the same date when Jesus was crucified and gave a new beginning. I believe that if I had all the information for my timeline, the dates would come out to be the same.
Genesis 8 verses 14 to 17, and the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dried. And God spake unto Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark, thou, and thy wife, and thy sons wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl, and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth.
It wasn't until 27 Iyar, approximately June 13th, that God unsealed the ark door and let them all out. So, in total they were on the ark approximately 1 year and 10 days. Why did he not open the door a month ago? I think maybe because the vegetation for the animals needed a little more time to grow back and get established. So, where did all the waters go? Some evaporated, some formed new rivers and lakes, some soaked back into the ground, the rest remained as oceans and seas. Psalms 104 verses 7 to 11, At thy rebuke they fled, at the voice of thy thunder they hasted away. They go up by the mountains, they go down by the valleys unto the place which thou hast founded for them. Thou hast set a bound that they may not pass over, that they turn not again to cover the earth. He sendeth the springs into the valleys, which run among the hills. They give drink to every beast of the field, the wild asses quench their thirst. There is plenty of evidence that the earth was once covered with water. The earth started out covered in water, but, at that time there was no land or living creatures, so, rock strata and fossils could not have started at the birth of our planet. Rock strata is different layers of sediment formed over time from particles in water or the air that settle. Like the Painted Desert in Arizona, which is the most beautiful specimen of strata. When the earth was flooded, sediments were shifted from the continually moving waters and eventually settled in layers. Perhaps as the waters lowered it shifted new layers of sediment. Things that died during the flood would have gotten caught in this settling process. After the water abated, the land dried and these sediment layers became permanent. Over time, winds of the earth add new layers. Volcanic eruptions also cause new layers. Tilting is the angle of strata due to the shifting of the land, and mountain formation due to the plate tectonics moving, continental drift, and pushing the strata to an angle or tilt. This shows us that the sediment was settled before the land divided. Varves are like strata. Layers of clay and silt of contrasting color that indicate seasonal sediment mainly formed around fresh water. In 2012, Dr. Robert Ballard found evidence of ancient homes under the Black Sea. There are fossils of fish and marine plants on the Himalayan mountains in Asia. The Andes mountain range in South America has fossils of whales and other marine life. It is fair to say that when the waters receded, some fish got stranded and died on the newly dried land, even on mountain tops, since the water was over them 22.5 feet. As mountains formed during the continental drift, it pushed these layers with the dead plants, fish, and animals up high with the newly formed mountain where they fossilized. We will learn more about the fossilizing process in the next episode.
Genesis 8 verses 18 to 22. And Noah went forth, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth, after their kinds, went forth out of the ark. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast, and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more everything living, as I have done. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease.
God said he will never again destroy every living thing with a flood of water. We also see here that day and night, and the seasons, will remain for as long as the earth remains. In a future study, I will explain how the seasons do remain, but they will be mixed up in the end of days. Science today calls this event global warming.
Genesis 9 verses 1 to 10. And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. Even as the green herb have I given you all things. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made he man. And you, be ye fruitful, and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. And God spake unto Noah, and to his sons with him, saying, And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark, to every beast of the earth.
After God blesses Noah and his sons, and tells them to be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, God said that the animals will now fear man. He also gives man the okay to eat animals just as he eats vegetation. But we are not to eat the blood. It must be drained and cooked thoroughly. At this time God also gives the commandment not to shed man's blood. The meaning of blood in the Bible will be explained in a future video.
Genesis 9 verses 11 to 17. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud, and I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, This is the token of the covenant, which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth.
This flood rain was God's way of cleansing, or baptizing, the earth. As a token of the covenant that God will not again smite the earth with a flood of water, he placed a bow in the cloud, the rainbow, to remind him and us of this covenant. To be fair, the Bible never states that the rain during the flood was the first time it ever rained, as I stated in the Garden of Eden video. However, since the sun already existed, if it rained before now, a rainbow would have occurred before the flood. Scientifically speaking anyway. When sunlight encounters a raindrop, part of the light is reflected and the rest enters the raindrop. The light is refracted at the surface of the raindrop. This causes the appearance of a rainbow. But, this is the first rainbow, so I believe it didn't rain before now. I suppose it is possible that it had rained before and it wasn't until now that God created refraction causing a rainbow to appear. Either way, God will never destroy the people with a flood of water in his wrath. The next destruction will be with fire. 2 Peter 2 verse 7, But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. In the next episode, we will learn about the Tower of Babel, where all the different ethnic groups came from, the Earth's division, and evolution. It will be an information-packed finale to our creation series. Don't forget to subscribe and get notified when it gets posted. And please like this video if you enjoyed learning more details than the average Noah story.